She kicked his mop bucket. Dirty water spilled across the hospital floor. "Get out of my way," she said. "Some of us actually save lives." He was just a cleaner. She was the chief of surgery. But that night at the hospital gala, when they announced who'd donated $50 million for the new cancer wing, her face went white. Because the cleaner she just humiliated built the hospital she worked in. The hallway was busy, nurses moving quickly, families waiting, the sound of monitors beeping from nearby rooms. Marcus Williams pushed his cleaning cart down the corridor. The same corridor he'd walked for 3 years now. Mop in hand, quiet, unnoticed. He'd just finished mopping near the elevator when he heard them. Footsteps. Fast. Odd. Urgent. Dr. Victoria Ross rounded the corner, white coat flowing behind her, surgical mask hanging around her neck, phone pressed to her ear. She didn't look up. Marcus stepped aside, giving her room, the way he always did. But she wasn't looking. She walked straight into his cart. Her shoulder hit the handle. Coffee from her cup splashed onto her coat. She stopped, looked down at the stain, then, slowly, looked up at Marcus. Her eyes, cold, sharp, furious. "Are you serious right now?" Her voice cut through the hallway. Marcus opened his mouth. "I'm sorry, Sorry." She stepped closer. "Do you know who I am?" He nodded quietly. Everyone knew Dr. Ross. Best surgeon in the hospital. Maybe in the state. "Then, you know I just came out of a 6-hour surgery. That I have another one in 20 minutes. That I don't have time for this." People were stopping now, watching. Marcus felt it. The eyes, the attention. "I apologize," he said softly. "I'll move the cart." "You should have moved it already." She looked at the mop bucket. Then, without warning, she kicked it. Hard. The bucket tipped. Dirty water rushed across the floor. Spreading, pooling. Silence. Complete silence in the hallway. Dr. Ross looked at the mess. Then, at Marcus. "Clean it up," she said. "And next time, stay out of my way. Some of us actually save lives here." She walked away, leaving Marcus standing there, in a puddle of dirty water, while everyone watched. He took a slow breath, looked down at the mess, and reached for his mop. Marcus knelt down, started cleaning. No one helped. They just watched for a moment, then continued on their way, as if nothing had happened. As if public humiliation was normal when you wore a janitor's uniform. He wrung out the mop. The water ran brown into the bucket. He worked methodically, the way he always did, with care, with attention to detail. Because that's who Marcus was. 30 years ago, he'd built his first company from nothing. Sold it for more money than most people see in 10 lifetimes. Built 2 more after that. Sold those too. Now, at 52, he had more wealth than he could spend in 5 lifetimes. But 3 years ago, his daughter Sarah died. Leukemia, 8 years old. The same age as some of the children in this hospital. After she passed, Marcus couldn't go back to boardrooms. Couldn't go back to luxury. Everything felt empty. So he did something no one understood. He took a job as a hospital cleaner. Not for the money. Not for recognition. But because he wanted to be close to children like Sarah. To see them fight. To see them win. To quietly help in ways no one would ever know. He donated millions, anonymously, to research, to treatment programs, to families who couldn't afford care. And he mopped floors. Because someone had to. Because every clean room, every sanitized surface, every safe space helped those children heal. Marcus stood up. The floor was clean now. Cleaner than it had been before Dr. Ross kicked the bucket. He pushed his cart down the hallway. Head high, dignity intact. Because Dr. Ross's words, her cruelty, her status, none of it could touch what he knew to be true. That every person matters. Every job has value. And sometimes, the most important work is the work no one sees. Marcus finished his shift in the pediatric wing. His favorite floor, room 412, needed cleaning. He knocked softly, then entered. Emma Chen sat up in bed, pale, thin from treatment, but her eyes were bright. "Mr. Marcus." She smiled. He smiled back. "How are you today, Emma?" "Tired, but I finished my coloring book. Want to see?" He set down his mop, walked over. She showed him page after page, rainbows and flowers and houses with big windows. "These are beautiful," he said softly. "My mom says when I get better, we'll plant a real garden, like this one." She pointed to a page filled with roses. Marcus's chest tightened. Sarah had loved gardens too. "That sounds perfect," he said. Emma looked at him carefully. Then, "Mr. Marcus, why were you sad today?" He paused. "What makes you think I was sad?" "Because when you came in, you had that look. The one my mom has when she thinks I'm sleeping." "Smart girl." Marcus sat in the chair beside her bed. "Someone wasn't very kind to me today," he admitted. "But it's okay." "Was it Dr. Ross?" He looked at her, surprised. "I saw her in the hallway earlier," Emma explained. "She yelled at you." "She kicked your bucket." Marcus nodded slowly. "She's mean to everyone," Emma said matter-of-factly. "She saved my life during surgery, but she never smiles, never asks how I'm feeling, just checks numbers and leaves." Emma reached out, took Marcus's hand. "But you're different. You make my room smell like flowers. You talk to me. You make me feel like I'm a person, not just sick." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "You are a person, Emma," he said quietly. "A wonderful person. Then why doesn't Dr. Ross see that you're a person too?" The question hung in the air. Marcus had no answer. Except, maybe Dr. Ross had forgotten. Maybe somewhere along the way, climbing to the top, she'd stopped seeing people. Emma squeezed his hand. "Don't be sad, Mr. Marcus. People like Dr. Ross forget what matters. But you remember. That's why you're my favorite." He smiled. A real smile. "You're my favorite too, Emma." Later that afternoon, Dr. Victoria Ross made her rounds in the pediatric wing. She moved efficiently, chart to chart, room to room. Room 412, Emma Chen. Victoria entered without knocking. Emma looked up from her coloring book. "Good afternoon, Dr. Ross," Emma said politely. Victoria barely glanced at her, eyes on the chart. "White blood cell count is improving," she said to the nurse. "Continue current treatment protocol. Schedule follow-up scans for next week." She turned to leave. "Dr. Ross?" Emma's small voice. Victoria paused, impatient. "Yes? The man you yelled at today. Mr. Marcus. He's really nice. He talks to me every day." Victoria's face showed nothing. "The janitor? He's not just a janitor. He's kind. He remembers my name. He asks how I feel." Victoria's jaw tightened slightly. "That's nice," she said flatly. "But I'm sure Mr. Marcus has cleaning to do. And I have patients to see." He says everyone matters, Emma continued, no matter what their job is. Victoria looked at Emma now. Really looked. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Something that might have been discomfort. But she pushed it down. Your treatment is what matters right now, Victoria said firmly. Not philosophy from the cleaning staff. She left. Emma looked at the nurse. Why doesn't she like Mr. Marcus? The nurse, Jennifer, an older woman who'd worked at the hospital for 20 years, knelt beside Emma's bed. Dr. Ross is brilliant, Jennifer said carefully. One of the best surgeons I've ever seen. But sometimes, when people work very hard to get to the top, they forget to look at who's beside them, or below them. That's sad, Emma said. It is, Jennifer agreed. What neither of them knew, what Dr. Ross didn't know, was that tonight, everything would change. Because tonight was the hospital gala. The night they would announce the name of the anonymous donor who gave $50 million to build the new cancer wing. The wing that Dr. Victoria Ross had fought for, planned for, designed. The wing that would be her legacy. And the donor's name was about to be revealed. That evening, Marcus finished his shift at 6. He changed in the staff locker room, putting his uniform in his locker, careful as always. Another cleaner, Miguel, was leaving too. Hey Marcus, you going to the gala tonight? Miguel asked. Marcus smiled. Maybe I'll stop by. Man, I wish I could go. But tickets are $500 each. And it's black tie. Miguel laughed. Guess they don't want people like us there. Marcus said nothing. Just smiled gently. Oh, what Miguel didn't know, what no one knew, was that Marcus had bought a table. 10 seats. $25,000. All anonymous. He left the hospital. Drove to his penthouse apartment across town. The one no one from work had ever seen. He showered. Shaved carefully. Put on his tuxedo. Custom-made. Italian. Looked in the mirror. The cleaner was gone. Was Sheldon. In his place stood someone else. Someone the hospital board knew only as anonymous donor. Marcus picked up a small photo from his dresser. Sarah. 8 years old. Bright smile. Holding a flower she'd picked from their garden. The garden she never got to see bloom one more spring. This is for you, sweetheart, he whispered. Meanwhile, across town, Dr. Victoria Ross stood in her own apartment, in front of her own mirror, adjusting her gown. Expensive. Designer. Perfect. Tonight was her night. The cancer wing was her project. She'd spent 2 years convincing the board, writing proposals, fighting for funding. And then, 6 months ago, an anonymous donor appeared. $50 million. Enough to build everything she'd dreamed of. She'd never met them. Never even knew their name. But tonight, the donor had agreed to be revealed. And Victoria would finally thank them. Stand beside them. Share her vision. This would cement her legacy. She had no idea, absolutely no idea, that the person she'd publicly humiliated that morning was the person who made her dream possible. The hospital gala was held at the Grand Ballroom downtown. Hundreds of guests, doctors, board members, major donors dead-eyed, city officials, crystal chandeliers, live orchestra, tables draped in white silk. Dr. Ross arrived early, as always. Wanted to review her speech one more time. She mingled, smiled, shook hands. The hospital's CEO, Richard Palmer, approached her. Victoria, you look radiant. Ready for tonight? Ready? She confirmed. Have you met the donor yet? Richard smiled mysteriously. Not yet, but I have. Several times, actually. Victoria frowned. What do you mean? You'll see, Richard said cryptically. Let's just say they've been closer than you think. Before Victoria could ask more, the lights dimmed. Time for the program. She took her seat at the head table, beside the empty chair reserved for the anonymous donor. Richard stepped to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being here tonight. We're celebrating something extraordinary. The construction of our new cancer treatment wing. A $50 million facility that will save countless lives. Applause. Victoria smiled. This was it. This wing wouldn't exist without one person's incredible generosity. Richard continued. For 6 months they've chosen to remain anonymous. But tonight, they agreed to step forward. Victoria's heart raced. Before I call them up, Richard said, I want to share something. This donor didn't just write a check. They've been part of our hospital family for 3 years. They walk our halls every day. They know our patients by name. They understand what healing really means, because they've lived through loss. Victoria's smile faltered slightly. 3 years? Walk the halls? They asked for only one thing, Richard continued. That we name the wing after someone they loved, someone we couldn't save, but whose memory will now help us save others. A slide appeared on the screen. A photo of a young girl, 8 years old. Bright smile. The caption read, Sarah Williams Memorial Cancer Wing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our donor, Marcus Williams. The spotlight swung to the entrance, and Marcus walked through the doors, not in a janitor's uniform, but in a tuxedo. Tall, distinguished, confident. The room erupted in applause. Victoria sat frozen. Completely, utterly frozen. Her mind racing. Marcus Williams. The cleaner. No, not the cleaner. The donor. $50 million, The man she'd kicked the mop bucket. The man she'd told to stay out of her way. The man she'd said didn't save lives. Was the man who built the wing that would define her career. Marcus walked to the podium. Every step, calm, measured, graceful. He reached the stage, shook hands with Richard, turned to face the crowd. Victoria couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Around her, people whispered, "That's the donor, Marcus Williams, the tech billionaire? I heard he sold 3 companies, walked away from everything. He works here as a janitor." Marcus stood at the microphone, quiet for a moment, looking at the photo of Sarah behind him. Then he spoke. "Thank you for being here," he said softly. "My daughter Sarah died 3 years ago. Leukemia. She was 8 years old." The room, silent now. "After she passed, I couldn't go back to my old life. Boardrooms felt meaningless. Success felt empty. I had more money than I could spend, but I'd lost the only thing that mattered." He paused. "So I came here, to this hospital, and I asked for a job." Whispers rippled through the crowd. "I wanted to be close to children like Sarah, to see them fight, to see them win, to clean their rooms, to make their spaces safe, to be part of their healing, even in the smallest way." Victoria felt something breaking inside her chest. "For 3 years. I've mopped these floors," Marcus continued. "I've cleaned rooms. I've emptied trash. And I've watched as doctors and nurses and staff work miracles every day." He looked directly at the head table. directly at Victoria. I've also watched as some people forgot that everyone in a hospital matters, from the surgeon to the nurse to the person who cleans the room where healing happens. Victoria's face flushed. This wing, Marcus said, turning back to the audience, is named after my daughter. But it's built on the belief that every person, no matter their title, no matter their job, has dignity, has value, deserves respect. He paused, because Sarah taught me that. In her 8 years, she saw people, not titles, not status. People. Olyone. Marcus looked at the photo again. So tonight, I'm not asking you to remember me as a donor. I'm asking you to remember Sarah, and to remember that kindness is the first medicine we should give. The room exploded in applause. Standing ovation. Everyone on their feet, except Victoria. She sat there, hands trembling, face pale, feeling the weight of every cruel word she'd ever said, every dismissive look, every time she'd treated staff as invisible, the cleaner she'd humiliated, built the wing she'd designed, the man she'd kicked aside, held her entire legacy in his hands. After the speech, the gala continued. Music, dancing, conversations. But Victoria couldn't move from her seat. People approached Marcus, thanked him, congratulated him. She watched from across the room, saw him smile, shake hands, accept gratitude with humility. The same humility he'd shown when she kicked his mop bucket. Richard Palmer sat beside her. You didn't know, did you? He said quietly. Victoria shook her head. Couldn't speak. Marcus specifically requested to work as a cleaner, Richard explained. He wanted to be anonymous. Wanted to be close to the children without anyone treating him differently because of his wealth. Victoria closed her eyes. He's donated over $200 million to hospitals nationwide, Richard continued. All anonymous. And he works in every single one, as janitor, cleaner, sometimes kitchen staff. Because he believes healing starts with dignity. And dignity starts with seeing people. Every word, a knife. This morning, Victoria's voice cracked. I kicked his mop bucket. I told him, some of us actually save lives. Richard's face, disappointed but not surprised. I know, he said. Multiple staff members reported it. I planned to speak with you. Why didn't Marcus say anything? Why didn't he? Because that's who Marcus is, Richard said firmly. He doesn't use his wealth as a weapon. He doesn't pull rank. He believes people should choose kindness, not because of what someone can do for them, but because it's right. Victoria felt tears burn behind her eyes. The cancer wing. Her life's work. Built by the man she'd treated as worthless. Named after a daughter she'd never asked about. Funded by someone who cleaned rooms while she walked past without seeing him. She stood, unsteady. I need to apologize. Richard nodded. Yes, you do. Victoria crossed the ballroom. Every step, heavy. People were talking to Marcus. She waited, hands trembling. Finally, the crowd cleared. Marcus stood alone, looking at the photo of Sarah on the screen. Victoria approached, stopped a few feet away. Mr. Williams, she said quietly. He turned, looked at her. No anger in his eyes. No triumph. Just calm. Sad understanding. Dr. Ross, he said gently. She opened her mouth, closed it. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't know, she whispered. I know. That's not an excuse. I was cruel. To you. To others. Her voice broke. Marcus said nothing. Just listen. You built the wing I designed, she continued. You made my dream possible, and I kicked your mop bucket. I told you. You didn't save lives. She covered her face with her hands. Marcus waited. Patient. Kind. Ike. When she looked up, he was holding out a handkerchief. She took it, wiped her eyes. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Marcus looked at her. This brilliant surgeon. This woman who saved lives. Now, broken by her own cruelty. May I tell you something, Dr. Ross? He said softly. She nodded, unable to speak. When my daughter was sick, there was a surgeon. Dr. Catherine Miles T. Brilliant. Like you. She performed Sarah's surgeries with incredible skill. Victoria listened, tears still falling. But she never talked to Sarah, Marcus continued. Never asked how she felt. Never looked at her as anything more than a case. A challenge. A procedure. He paused. And there was a nurse, Jennifer Hayes. She cleaned Sarah's room, brought her coloring books, sat with her when Sarah was scared, made her laugh. Victoria's breath caught. Jennifer, she whispered. She works in pediatrics now. I know, Marcus said. I requested her, because she understood something Dr. Miles didn't. He looked at Victoria directly. That healing, real healing, requires more than skill. It requires seeing people, remembering they're human, treating them with dignity, no matter who they are. Victoria closed her eyes. I forgot that. Yes, Marcus said. Not cruel, just honest. Somewhere along the way, climbing to chief of surgery, proving I was the best. Victoria's voice shook. I stopped seeing people as people. I saw cases, competition, obstacles. She looked at him. That little girl, Emma Chen. She told me today that you make her feel like a person, not just sick. Marcus smiled gently. Emma reminds me of Sarah. And Victoria's voice broke again. I dismissed her. I dismissed you. I've been so focused on being respected that I stopped giving respect. She took a shaken breath. I don't know how to make this right. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Yes, you do, he said finally. How? Start tomorrow. Walk into that hospital and see people, all people, the nurses, the cleaners, the patients, not as titles, as human beings. He paused. And maybe apologize to the ones you've hurt, starting with the staff you've dismissed and the patients you've treated as cases. Victoria nodded. I will. I promise. Marcus looked at her, saw genuine remorse, genuine desire to change. Then we're okay, Dr. Ross, he said softly. The next morning, Dr. Victoria Ross walked into the hospital. Different. She stopped at the reception desk. Good morning, Patricia, she said to the woman who'd worked there for 15 years. The woman whose name Victoria had never asked. Patricia looked up, surprised. Good morning, Dr. Ross. Thank you, Victoria said, for everything you do. I don't think I've ever said that. Patricia's eyes widened. Oh, thank you, Dr. Ross. Victoria continued down the hallway, saw Miguel, the cleaner, mopping near the elevator. She stopped. Good morning, she said. Miguel looked up, nervous. Morning, Dr. Ross. I want to apologize, Victoria said. I've walked past you countless times, never acknowledged you, never thanked you. But this hospital wouldn't run without people like you. So, thank you. Miguel stood there, speechless. "You're welcome," he managed. Victoria reached the pediatric wing. Room 412. She knocked this time. "Come in." Emma's voice. Victoria entered. Emma looked up from her coloring book. "Hi, Dr. Ross Mall." Victoria sat down, really sat, in the chair beside Emma's bed. "Hi, Emma. How are you feeling today?" Emma tilted her head. "Are you okay, Dr. Ross? You look different." "I am different," Victoria said softly, "because of what you said yesterday, and because of someone who taught me that I need to see people, not just patients." Emma smiled. "Mr. Marcus thought." "Yes, Mr. Marcus. He's my favorite," Emma said. "Mine too," Victoria admitted. Over the next weeks, Victoria changed. She learned names, asked questions, stayed later to talk to families. She started a program called Every Role Matters, where surgeons shadowed support staff to understand their work. She personally apologized to everyone she'd dismissed over the years. Some forgave her immediately. Some took time. She accepted both. And every morning, when she arrived, she found Marcus, in his janitor uniform, cleaning. "Dai wei, dogao, wow, nasi humandiare." Cleaning. They'd talk about Sarah, about Emma de Talweiner, about what healing really means. One morning, Marcus was in Emma's room when Victoria arrived. Emma was being discharged, cancer-free. She hugged Marcus tightly. "Thank you for being my friend. Always," he said. Emma turned to Victoria, hugged her too. "Thank you for seeing me." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you for teaching me to see." As Emma left with her family, Victoria and Marcus stood in the empty room. "The wing opens next month," Victoria said. "Sarah would be proud," Marcus replied. "I hope so, because it's not just a building. It's a reminder." "Of what?" Victoria looked at him. "That everyone who walks through these doors matters. Patient, doctor, nurse, cleaner, everyone." Marcus smiled. Sarah would definitely be proud. If there had been a camera, it would have slowly pulled back from the window of the new cancer wing. Through the glass you'd see children playing in the bright new therapy rooms, families laughing in the comfortable waiting areas, and on the wall, a photo of an 8-year-old girl named Sarah Williams, whose memory now saves lives. You'd see Dr. Victoria Ross, no longer the coldest surgeon in the hospital, but the one who stops to learn names, who sits beside beds, who remembers that healing starts with humanity. And you'd see Marcus, still in his janitor uniform, still mopping floors, still being close to children like his daughter, proving that the most important work is often the work no one notices until someone does. Victoria learned what no medical school teaches: that brilliance without kindness is just performance. That saving lives means seeing lives. And that the person you dismiss might be the one who holds your entire legacy in their hands. Marcus could have destroyed her career, could have exposed her cruelty, could have taken back his donation. But he chose mercy, because real strength is not about proving others wrong. It is about showing them a better way through grace. If this story reminded you that every person has value, regardless of their job or status, subscribe and hit that like button to support the Steadfast Heart Stories. Every like helps us bring more soul-stirring stories like this one to life. Stories about dignity, justice, and the quiet power of those who choose kindness, even when the world chooses cruelty. Because how you treat people when you think they cannot help you reveals everything about who you really are. Thank you for watching. Stay warm. Stay kind. See you in the next story.